Hello and welcome to the Student Experience podcast, where we'll be chatting to members of the University of Suffolk community, giving them the opportunity to share their experience with us. I'm Sam and I'm a member of the Student Experience and Engagement team, and in today's episode, myself and my colleague Laura are joined by Sam Clarke, who is a psychology student and also the Social Sciences and Humanities School Officer. We discussed her time at the university so far, her role as the Social Sciences and Humanities School Officer, as well as her passion for disability awareness. So Sam, would you like to introduce yourself and the course that you're studying?
Hi, yes, so hi Sam. Hi, everyone. So for those of you that don't know already, my name's Sam. I'm currently a psychology student here at the University of Suffolk. I'm level 6 at the moment, but I'm a part-timer, so it's technically my 4th year. I'm doing mostly level 6 modules this year, just finishing everything up, ready for dissertation year next year.
Exciting times. So have you always wanted to study psychology?
Yes, so originally I came here in 2010.
Oh, yes.
So I studied here when it's called University Campus Suffolk.
I did too.
Yeah. Back before the name change. Still got all the old certificates and bits up on the wall. So I came here originally to do operating department practice. Health career was definitely something I really wanted to do. My mum was a nurse. A lot of family members have sort of gone down the health route, so I knew I definitely wanted to do that. So originally started that along with my best friend who was doing nursing at the time. We both graduated together, which was lovely.
Oh, that's cool.
But it was a career I really loved. So those of you that don't know what operating department practice is, it's a role within predominantly operating theatres. So you're working either in the anaesthetic role, assisting the anaesthetist, you're working in the scrub role in the theatres, or maybe circulating, so collecting different bits of equipment, anything they may need in the interim whilst the operation's going on, recovery, or even critical care or A&E. So it's sort of all our training, even that we did mostly in the first year, along with the nursing students, midwifery, etc., to do the main like A&P, in a kind of basic sort of.
It's not a job
skills.
that I know of, actually.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting to know it's an actual role, really. It's like you said, when you think of operating theatres, you think of the surgeons and the nurses. You don't think of like the other people as well. So
yeah,
really
and there's a lot of programmes, like even with the latest behind the scenes hospital ones, it's the first time I've actually heard on TV them say the correct term for an ODP. Because they tend to always refer to as nurses, which we're not.
No.
Yes, we do a lot of the same training, but our training, whereas nurses are very more generalised because they're doing everything, we're concentrating on just that area field. When a nurse is qualified, they can't go and work in anaesthetics unless they go and do an extra qualification post-grad to be able to work in it. So it's differences. The same with us, we can work on some of the generalised wards that nurses work on, because that's not a background. Yes, we do it as we're training because we need that kind of well-rounded placement. But where we predominantly lie is operating theatres.
Oh wow, that's really. I've never heard of that before, so that's really good to know.
So I guess what first attracted you to the Uni of Suffolk initially?
So Uni of Suffolk initially is I attended Suffolk New College.
Okay.
So we obviously had the open days here, we had the UCAS, fairs and everything. It was especially obviously watching the waterfront building get built. That sort of exciting time of thinking,
it's always been here, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not really actually been here that long at all, really.
And it's always weird coming in the library building, because the library was obviously part of the original bit, and I remember it when it was literally a tower block.
Yeah, same.
Goals wasn't there, and we were going in for lessons. So it's kind of, from that. So I knew I wanted to kind of stay quite close to home. I knew from the bit that I really wanted placements at Ipswich Hospital. Yeah. So from what actually got me into sort of knowing the career in the first place is I knew medical. I always had fascination with operating theatres, but I was really undecided between doing nursing and ODP. So I contacted Ipswich Hospital and the matron up in theatres, and they very kindly let me come and do a day there.
Oh, fantastic.
I kind of said, look, I'm about to apply for UCAS. I can't decide between the two. Can I please just come and see really more the role? I knew from the nursing, obviously from my mum, a lot more in depth, let alone obviously my best mate wanted to do that as well, so I had knowledge from her. So I kind of thought, right, go along to theatres. They obviously got nurses there as well as ODPs, so I could speak time, talk to the staff, and see the role as well.
That's great that they've invited you as well. I'm not sure how many places would do that, but obviously they see that you're someone who's potentially going to end up there. So, you know, that's in their best interest to have you come and see before you take the plunge and apply to work on the course and things. That's great.
Yeah, and I did. And what was quite nice is because I met some of the staff, some of them would go on to end up being my mentors on placement, because you'll get obviously allocated mentors in each department each theatre department you went into. So what was quite nice in that is it sort of settled down some of those first stage jitters, because I'd already knew where the changing rooms were. I already knew where the bits were for like the main theatres. I'd go around, met some people, and that was kind of nice in that respect, because it was kind of turning up to your first day of placement after your first week at university on that first Friday, because we used to have ours every Friday, and then the rest of the week, Monday to Thursday, we were in university having lectures, and then you would have that for X amount of weeks, then go for block placement, and then so on and follow it on. But especially those sort of first couple of weeks, you have the natural drop-offs, so people don't realise the role and what's really involved with it, and what as a student, the jobs that you tend to have to sort of go on and do, which I feel like sometimes it should be shown more of what it's
realistic side of it.
What it is as a day in the life of a student on placement in all the different healthcare bits, because I think sometimes the television or different TV programs
can glamorised a bit.
Yes,
isn't it?
exactly. And then when you come in, you go, oh, okay, you need to do this job. You need to be fully prepared to go, you're working as part of a team. You need to be getting on with whatever job you need to do. And it's same even when you qualified. If you know and you've already cleared up your sections, so I was doing anaesthetics, I've already got that sorted. But you can see the scrub nurse and the circulator, which tends to be like a theatre assistant, running around trying to get everything done, because sometimes you get a very short window to get everything scrubbed from top to bottom and get everything set up before the patient's already in the anaesthetic room waiting for the next ready for you to sort of get in there as well.
Very high-paced, fast-paced even.
So the most important thing is working as part of a team, or theatre lists wouldn't run. If you don't all work together, you don't all muck in together, you don't say, oh, that isn't part of my role.
No.
Which unfortunately you sometimes got some that maybe agency or bits like that will come out and they were used to saying, well, I'm only coming in because I'm only getting paid for this bit. That's not how, and some of the others were great, like some of the ones I knew were fantastic, because they knew the reality is to make it run smoothly, you all had to pitch in and work together.
Of course.
So, yeah.
I mean, that builds in a comment that you just made about students sort of not always seeing the reality of placement and things. So how do you find balancing your study and your life, you know, together? How does it work with you studying and your life outside of the university? So how do you balance it all?
It isn't an easy balance. I'm not going to say it is, because most students will probably say to me, and they'll listen to us go, "What's she saying?"
No, what you talking about?
It's not. I think in a way my age may help in that respect. I'll say I turned 33 this year.
Happy birthday!
I stopped aging at 28.
Same.
But I think sometimes coming into it, and especially coming back to university and doing it, I had quite a clear bit of reality of what the whole experience was, what I need to concentrate on. It is about finding that balance, and it is very much, and I always implore students as well, and that's part of why I love getting involved with the student union.
Oh, fantastic.
Is about getting involved and getting students engaged in activities outside of academia. Because if they come, and yes, obviously university life is very important and your studies is very important, but if you focus fully on that, you shut out everyone else. Especially if you've come away from home, or like myself, when I joined university, I only had a few friends that I knew outside the bit. I didn't have that many. Can't say that now, which is lovely.
Popular
I made so many great friends whilst being here.
Good, though. That's great.
But
it's a big part of university as well, isn't it? Making those friendships, building that community as well.
And if students don't get engaged in the different bits, obviously student experience put on, student union put on, then they're not going to meet people outside the bit.
No.
Because I know when I joined, and obviously joining in 2020 when it was COVID kicking
Yeah.
off,
Oh gosh, yeah.
and even then when we joined, we weren't a full class. I don't think it was really until last year that we were actually all within a lecture fit. Were you looking at people coming in going,
who are you?
Yeah.
You're kind of looking at them going, they're going to say they're in the wrong room or something, because they had us all split into little groups. So you knew the really small cohorts and the bits we had really well. Didn't know who else you'd actually be, who else was actually in your cohort. And what I found from that is knowing these people there is getting involved with the different societies. Then obviously eventually going towards doing an officer. I met all these people because I was just like, okay, let's go to a freshers event, let's go to bit. And even if I don't know people, I always say to them, just go.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's an
Definitely.
activity you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because so many people here are welcoming. And I found it was like, oh, can I just kind of join your group for that game, or can I just and you're not going to say no.
No.
Yeah.
You can't sit with us. It's not like that. So.
It's not that sort of mentality.
Yeah.
It's not. It's progressed.
university, isn't
Exactly.
it?
It's
Yeah.
progressed past high school.
Yeah.
It's progressed
Thankfully.
a lot past
Yeah.
past a lot of the things with college. And I think now and that, even if you don't come to the same university with the social groups that you went to sixth form with,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you just sort of get involved with different sports,
Yeah,
have a go
definitely.
at different sort of activities. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But
Exactly.
you might find something, a new hobby that you do enjoy, which again will help support mental health as you go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely good, like you said, you come from that bubble of being in high school and college where you probably only hang around with the same people, and then you come to university and it's such a diverse mix of people. It's so good for you to learn about other cultures, other ways of living, other there's so many exciting things. That's what I loved as well about the uni. It's like there's so many opportunities, and like you say, with student union, as the student experience team, we really want students to feel a part of the community and to meet students they might necessarily never have come across in the first place or on other courses. So they think, well, actually, that might be a course I'm interested in the future. There's so many opportunities, isn't there? Which is great.
I think that's a bit. I think it's, for me, I knew coming into it, I wasn't going to know anyone. I wasn't expecting to know anyone, but I can see how sometimes it's very hard for students, and some of my friends, they've come here and they live quite a distance away from their families. Some of my very good friends live in Spain and other countries around Europe, and let alone obviously Cornwall, Devon, down south, up north. And it's quite a distance for them to sort of come away from home for a majority of the year. And that can be obviously very difficult for them to cope with to begin with. So I think if they can from freshers really sort of start trying to get involved with people. And what I love, especially some of the societies, that if you don't want to go to a big party or don't want to go to any of the drinking ones, you don't want to maybe go to any of the discos or the loud bits like that, because there's such a variation of events that get put on for freshers and refreshers.
Definitely.
You can go, okay, I'm going to go pottery painting, and there's not going to be that many there because anyone that's gone to Pernickety Pots knows it's quite a small place, which is a fabulous place, but it's quite a small place. So, and it's going to be obviously quite quiet. So I think what I love about it and what I've seen progress through the years I've been here is there's been more of a shift towards hosting events that are more inclusive.
Yeah.
That there's quite a diverse range that hopefully will meet most people's sort of requirements and needs, which then hopefully people don't feel like they're being alienated. I can't say the word.
No.
Shut out.
I know what you mean. Yeah, like you said,
that's
it's people have got so many different interests, haven't they? You have to be able to cover everything. Like I said, not everybody wants to go out drinking or just to the pub or whatever. There is that's the thing I've noticed since being here as well, that there's so many different things going on all the time. It's
That's
brilliant.
The bit you've got from societies for different ethnic minorities to Dungeons and Dragons to Craft Club to Giving Society, Women's Society, different sports ones. It's such a diverse range, and what's made it quite even better is the fact that people starting and students wanting to start their own society now, there's less of a paperwork. You need less members. I know starting Psychology Society, it took a good year to sort of get that third member to then start it off and start it. now, because of the changes that have been made,
Mm.
it makes it so much easier. So you've got even new students coming in. We had one, because I've been doing student ambassador work as well, and when we were doing one of the tours, they're like, oh, well, we're really interested in cricket. Could we do this? Well, there's no society yet, but you can easily start one yourself.
Yeah.
And there's all those new
would be
ideas,
great, actually. Because like you said, we have got students who are really interested in sports, and having some different ones would be great. But cricket sounds great for the summer.
I wish I was a cricket one when I was there, because I play a bit of cricket.
But I think that's the bit. I think it's kind of opened the doors to, if there's not one, start one.
Yeah, definitely.
And then it gives it more options for students as well. That again, they think, oh, okay, I'm more of a gamer, I'm more of a crafter, I'm more of a, it gives people, give it a go, or join people that are quite like-minded in different hobbies that you like. So
that social aspect, isn't it?
Exactly, it's so important. I find, as you're saying about the work-life balance in regards to that, you need that bit of, even if within block learning you haven't got that much time to maybe do stuff outside of it, but if you're at least getting involved with societies, sports, different things, it's giving you that balance.
Definitely.
And it fits in there nicely.
Important then. And like you said, even if it's a society for, like, say, psychology society, you can still, if you want to have that discussion around psychology, but at the same time it's a social thing as well, so it's not all focused around that particular subject, so that's great.
And that's the bit, and with psychology one, we always said it's just with people that have a passion for psychology. They might be doing criminology, they might be doing a completely different course, they might be doing health course, they might be doing something from business. But it was open to anyone that's got the bit. You don't have to be doing the qualification for it.
Oh, that's great.
It's just a matter of
I hadn't even thought about it like that, actually. It's good to know, because you just presume, don't you? So.
Yeah. Got an interest? Come on.
So we spoke a lot there about the activities and outside of sort of academic things that are available at the uni. What was your favourite part about studying at the uni?
I think I've got a couple. What I love in regard to the campus and the size of the cohorts is that you feel like a person, not a number.
Yeah.
And I feel
that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely important. And especially like all psychology team, they have been so supportive. And you feel like you can reach out to any of the bits of, okay, I don't quite understand this. You don't feel like an idiot. As we got taught on our first year, there is no stupid questions.
No,
so you wanted to kind of, if you didn't feel comfortable in the class, to sort of put your hand and go, I don't quite understand what you're asking me to do.
I did that all the time. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Get always an email away. As they know.
It could be someone
4 years of me, there's an email away.
It could be someone's not confident asking the question, and you're asking it thinking, oh God, I'm glad somebody else has asked it. It's, there's always someone probably sitting there going, I don't know what to do. So.
I was like that in my first year. And I was very much sort of as a level 4 going, I'm not putting my hand up to say that I don't know what they mean, because I felt quite intimidated coming into it, not having done it at A level.
Okay.
I'd done a couple of the courses as part of my BTEC at Suffolk New College, but I hadn't done A level in it, I hadn't done GCSE in it, because my circumstances meant that doing GCSEs through the hospital, I could only do the core ones because I wasn't well enough to attend high school and take the 10, 11 that people obviously take now. So I felt quite intimidated coming into it, thinking, I don't know all these theories, I don't know all these bits, and people were quoting this and quoting that, and I'm thinking, what? Never heard of it. And I felt kind of so out of my depth that first year. It just sort of took a bit of time and meeting other people in the course that hadn't done it either, that found out feeling exactly how I was feeling.
That's good. I was going to say, you want someone to relate to and say, no, it's not just me feeling like this.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I guess it goes to show that even if you want to study something that you've not previously studied, it is an option if you think, actually, I've always wanted to do psychology or whatever it is, but I haven't done it at GCSE or A level. It is an option.
Yeah, because when I sort of decided, obviously, for the career that I was doing, it was no longer an option to carry it on because of my health. And I'll say I had a few years of really doing nothing. And it was just that kind of think of, actually, let's go back to university. Let's go back and do something else. And I was more looking at it at the time of what subject have I got interest in, and doing it more for me than obviously now I know what employment route I'm going, but at the
Okay.
time it was kind of very much, I just wanted to do it for me and just do it as kind of build my confidence back up.
Yeah, that's great.
And what I feel like the whole way through the university is, as I say, with the lecture team and with sort of the wider support from now with the Disability Service and Student Life, is that they really sort of support you through the different stages. And as long as I sort of say to students, access it.
Definitely.
100%.
There's so
same
many,
thing.
I know in my first year I went for the library sessions of doing the critical thinking, doing the referencing. They're there, they're free,
Yeah,
they're not charging you.
exactly, yeah.
They're completely there, and there's so many different ways and times and dates that you can obviously access as well. I always say to new students when they say, "What's your core bit of advice?" Like, access the services.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think particularly academic writing and referencing. I think that's
I
going to be
use
up
them
there.
a lot.
Yeah,
It's one of the things students worry about, especially students that maybe have been out of education for a while and they've come back
Exactly,
and suddenly, oh, well, how do I reference? What do I reference?
Yeah. And it could be, like, for me, like, yes, when I started, I was originally psychology and childhood, because it was when they used to have that dual degree.
Yes,
That's how I originally
yeah,
started.
of
So
course,
I'd
yeah.
had a history of Harvard because I'd had to do Harvard for ADP.
Yeah.
I hadn't done APA before, which is the psychology of the American
Of course, yeah, it's
Psychological
different,
Okay.
isn't it? Yeah.
Association. So that was obviously their version of it. But I never sort of done that before. So it was accessing the bit. And I always say to people as well, even if you're going into your second year or even your third year, and you just want to brush up and access them again, there's no limitations of, oh, I've only accessed them once, I can't do it again.
No, yeah, no.
They're there for a reason. People aren't going to
Exactly.
know what level you're at. People aren't going to, you just access online, access them in person, just use those services. And particularly for those with invisible disabilities, talk to the disability team, get that reasonable adjustment plan in place. It's so
Definitely, yeah.
important to support with your journey. Don't struggle.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
You're not going to get your best out of the university experience if you're just sitting there worrying every day going, I don't get what I'm doing, or I need help with this. And
Yeah,
like you said, this is what services are there. So yeah.
Exactly, they help put that plan in place. Like for me, it was a matter of as well helping you to talk to your course leader so they fully understood it. Exactly your needs as well, because there's going to be certain conditions that they may have not had students with before or not knowingly had students with before. And I know with some conditions there's a little bit of wrongful stigma of kind of saying, okay, I've got this condition, I've got that condition, and sort of not wanting the rest of the class to know or the rest of the bit to know. But no one else needs to know. If you've got the course team, you've got a disability, they can help those bits in place.
Definitely.
People don't need to know on reasonable adjustment day. I know we've got an exam coming up, and there's actually quite a lot in our cohort that have got reasonable adjustments that mean that we need our own rooms or we need extra time. Whereas before, a lot of people, and may still now, feel quite self-conscious of not wanting people to know, oh, I actually get more time with mine, or I get more, I get a break, or I get to have a room, or I get to use my computer, or this and that. Different DSA software. There shouldn't be that sort of bit, and I'm hoping kind of between myself and Phoebe, who's the disability officer, to kind of, where we can, try and support and minimise that stigma and get more people to access the services. Don't drop out of university because you're struggling so much.
Definitely.
And unfortunately, I've had a friend that's done that, and I don't want that to obviously happen to everyone else. It needs to be obviously. Get those services there. Don't struggle without anyone knowing.
That's really great. I say, like, what does a typical day look like for you in university with things like your disability and things like that as well?
Yeah, so it is different, obviously being part-time, because when I did start, we didn't realise it'd be full-time hours. So that was obviously kind of a bit of So the maximum you can do as a part-timer is 4 modules a year.
Right.
Okay.
So you can do less, you can do more, depending on what you want to do. I've tried to do the 4 so I can try and finish it in the minimal amount of time I can. Depending on what modules you pick, can be situated obviously in different blocks. They may change over the years depending on obviously the staff and how obviously it's worked out with that route. So my first year I remember doing 2 modules, had the 5 weeks off because of block off, did 2 summer holidays.
Right.
Wow.
Last year and the year before that, it was more that they were crammed together, which I found didn't work for me,
Mm.
and I struggled a lot more because there were so many. I sort of like had 3 back to back, and then you had the gap, and then you had the final module. That sort of didn't work. But where I was trying to take a lot of the mandatory, and saw all the ones that I was really excited to take, electives that I was really worried they might not do in future years. I was like, I need to do it now, just in case, you know, they change it or something sort of happens. So I was sort of trying to do that, but like this year I've sort of had a module off, got a module, got a block off, then 2.
And so it works better for you that way.
Yes, it has. And as I say, it's not going to obviously work for everyone that way, and they need to kind of seriously think of how many modules, knowing you're going to be in full time, so knowing you're going to be in the same amount of time as a full timer. Knowing that what's going to work for you. Like obviously some modules, and as I've gone through the years, it's been a bit easier because obviously level 6 you have less on campus time.
Yes, you
it's
do.
more independent study. So for me, actually, as I've gone up the levels, it's been better.
Oh, good.
Because
it's good to know.
Yeah, because obviously you are in a lot as a level 4 to kind of give you that basis of get you into and start bridging that gap really from what you've done before and get you into university academic life. But it did kind of feel like I never get into maybe block 2 and thinking, what have I done?
Oh,
I did have that kind of moment.
That realisation.
I'm so glad I kind of just carried on
Yeah.
and just preserved, because coming back to university has been the best decision. So one of the best decisions I've ever made, really.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm
to
so
hear.
glad I just sort of gave that bit of push of no, go for it.
Definitely.
It's kind of
Have
it was
a word
bit
with
of
yourself.
it was a bit of a shock to the family, because I kind of broached it to my mum a bit to say, right, okay, because she's a bit like, she's my best friend really, she's one of my best friends, and she's been a great comfort and sounding board to me, and I kind of went, I'm interested in going back to university, do you think this is a bad idea? You know, because she will honestly say, she's like, I don't feel your condition, you're going to be able to cope with it, or she's like, if you'd said to me a year or 2 ago, I would have said no, you wouldn't have had the kind of fitness and bits to even attempt to cope with it. It probably would have made your conditions worse. But she's like, no, go for it, do it. Which course do you think? I'm thinking, well, I like this one because I've reading up on the website. I've spoken to Sarah, who's now on the PhD students on Unibuddy, and got sort of more info about the course and bits. I was like, this really excites me. I'm reading about these different modules. Some of it's like, this kind of really fascinates me.
It's
I
great
really
that
want
you
to
could
kind of learn
speak to
about
someone.
it.
You had, like you say, your mum, but then you've also had some other people to speak to and say, actually, what does the course entail? What realistically is it going to be like and things? So that's good that you've got the emotional side and the more practical side as well, sort of both at the same time.
And what worked out well, because obviously being an alumni, it's kind of weird because I'm alumni and I'm not. So I still get all alumni newsletters through, because obviously graduated here previously in 2013. I get both worlds, but what was great is because all my paperwork's here. So they had my transcripts for my grades from before. They knew I'd obviously done the level bits before. With IDP at that point, because it wasn't a degree, it was there was no degree in it. It was a higher education diploma. It meant then that I could get funding because I hadn't technically done level 6. I'd only done up to level 5. So that kind of worked. But in the same bit from the uni and the entrance bit, they knew I'd done to level 5. They knew I had it in me to do the course and finish. But I literally contacted the university over the phone to say about the part-time and bits like that, because that's obviously a different way of going for it and applying for it for part-time. And they're like, yeah, actually over the phone we can give you a bit now to say we accept you. And then I was kind of expecting them. Bear in mind this was the start of September. This was coming to maybe near the end of the first week of September. I was fully expecting them to say there's no places, no, not going to do it. And kind of thinking, oh well, I tried next year. But when they sort of said it to me and they're like, did you want to accept? I was like, yes. And then I remember getting on the phone and feeling quite shell-shocked and going, oh my god, in 20 days I am starting university.
Oh, goodness me.
yeah.
I don't know how I'd cope with 20 days.
Yeah. And they say it's never too late. It's really
Well,
never
yeah,
too
no,
late.
yeah, no.
It isn't. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I need to start student finance out. I just need to start thinking out. Because
Of course, yeah.
again, I hadn't done
No.
student finance before because at that point the course was paid for as an NHS bursary. So there was no fees.
Oh, okay.
Which again obviously helped my application to get it. But there was suddenly this bit of looking, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to get? What forms do I need to fill in? And having this sort of panic and thing. But yeah, as I said, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's coming back to it.
That's
And
great.
I've lived with a minute. It feels weird to think in September I'll be starting my final year.
Oh,
I would have been here, next year I'd be graduating.
Do you know what kind of thing you're going to focus on for your dissertation? Yeah, or is that something you're not quite ready to think about just yet?
I came into it, I think by my second year I knew what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And again, that's what's been so great about the psychology modules, is because, especially in the first 2 years, they're touching on so many different disciplines and giving you that sort of great basis bit to start on. And then obviously towards the second year and then the third year, you're really branching and being more critical of that.
Yeah.
But it kind of gave you so many ideas of, okay, I'm doing about this topic today or that topic. Oh, okay, that sounds really, I think I might do that for dissertation.
Yeah.
You start kind of like making little notes, and I always say to people, it's never too early to start getting a notebook aside, which
100%.
I've got a bit of a Baldric notebook I got in Cont Relief, so my master pen. And I have a bit like that. But yeah, sort of start writing down notes, start writing down ideas, even if you don't end up going with it.
Yeah.
It gives you that kind of basis that when you get to the end of your second year and they're asking for you to send your proposal in.
Yeah, it comes quick.
It does,
It does.
yeah.
Yes. The years go very quickly.
Yeah.
I can't believe most of this bit already into our second semester of this year. But yes, I would sort of start saying. So I knew from my bit, I knew very much I wanted to do something around one of my conditions.
Yeah.
Because that's where, future-wise, I would like to go straight on and do my PhD as soon as I finish this.
Oh,
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I know what I want to do for PhD as
Wow.
well. So it kind of very much branches off what I want to do for the dissertation. And I knew which way I wanted to go with it and where I wanted to head with it.
That's
So,
great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So it sounds like, we don't say what's your biggest challenge
Yeah.
then. It seems like you like challenges. So
I do. I think probably academic challenges, very much getting used to the referencing and academic writing, having kind of 7-year break or so, 7-8 year break. Think back to it with how many years I was in being a qualified, working in hospitals, etc. After I finished originally in 2013, so it was I'd say that's probably getting into academic writing, getting into the bit. But I knew from my feedback from when I did the ODP course that I was writing quite descriptively. I wasn't being critical enough.
They say that's the one thing that I think
that's
is
where you
hardest.
get a lot of good marks
it's
for, and that's
really
where,
difficult.
especially when you get into level 5 and 6, where they count. You get told a lot as you go along that these scores now count.
Yeah.
I needed to focus on. So I knew, right, okay, what extra bits can I access? Can I go to, like as I said before, the library courses? Which books, and talk to the lecturers? Which ones do you recommend? Getting you into that critical thinking. And then soon start coming up, oh yeah, okay, we recommend this one, we recommend that one. And most of the time, obviously, they have it in the library, if not Amazon. Just access it and talk to them. I think that's the most thing, is communication bit is key. Especially when you're doing a degree, you need to sort of talk to people.
I guess that's probably one of the strengths of this uni. A lot of the courses are smaller cohorts, so you really can get to know the lecturer. And when it comes to like dissertation tutorial sessions, you can really ask them questions, or if it comes to email, they're quicker to reply, as opposed to some unis that might have 200 people on a course and you don't necessarily get to know the lecturer as well.
And they know you so well by then as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, they sort of know if you're kind of going, okay, you're trying to make too big a bit for yourself. You're not gonna, like the original idea bit I had, that like save for the PhD because you need to do a mixed methods.
Yeah, that's
you
a good
need
point,
that work
actually.
down. And from someone who always overwrites, yes, I always overwrite and spend a lot of time cutting down the words, so I get told a lot.
It's better that way around than the other way.
Oh,
Yes,
to be
yeah.
fair.
I do end up actually with a more concise bit. But knowing that, they were just like, it's going to be too much with the restricted workout. They're like, even you, it's gonna be too. Yeah, it's gonna be too. You need to wait for that. So sort of give you an idea for that. And then I think the other biggest challenges being kind of like setting myself little goals and stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because from the first year, being able to put my hand up in class and even answer a question, even if I knew it, or for a debating site, being able to speak out, I would go very red-faced. I would feel really difficult about it, and I wouldn't have the confidence or anything to do that. And I think what sort of helped with that is actually going for officer. And going for lecture and that, because it was so out of my comfort zone.
What led you to wanting to become an officer, and what does that look like for you?
So for me, I was interested in it, but then I was kind of like, oh my god, can I do that? I think what was most maybe off-putting to me to start with is the thought of going for elections to get people to vote for you. From someone who really doesn't like, in a way, sell themselves to get that bit and talk about. It was so far out of it. I was like, can I even do that? And it was the previous presidents and officer actually, and just speaking to them about the role, and then speaking to the other sort of CSU members. It was kind of like, yeah, just go for it. You know, what have you got to do? There's that bit of, okay, you may have no votes. You may have that bit, you know, everyone votes wrong because they got no confidence. But just sort of give it a go. But to be able to make a video, to do a poster, manifesto points, to come up with that, you know, even having to do that was so nerve-wracking that first year. And you sort of went round, and a friend of mine had gone for a disabilities officer, Jamie, and he had gone for that. So what was quite nice is him and Dara and a few of the others, we kind of went around together. And
safety in numbers.
It was safety in numbers. But to go in front of classes and to say, look, these are my manifesto points. And strangely, I actually felt a bit more comfortable talking to other classes that weren't psychology than I did psychology. I don't know why. I don't know if because obviously I knew the lecturers so much more. Than going in front of complete strangers. But that was sort of very, very nerve-wracking. But again, doing that has given me so much more experience, and doing that, then obviously going for chair for student council, doing the different bits of being president of the the psychological society, doing all those different roles, activities committee chair, it slowly built up that confidence of public speaking and doing different bits. And then obviously it came round to last year and last March when the re-elections were, and I felt a bit more comfortable. I had heavily debated it. A few of us had really heavily debated if we wanted to go for it again. Especially as some of them were going into their final year, so it was that kind of thing of really
balancing time and things.
Yes, exactly. And we kind of went, let's go for it again. Let's just do that final year. We all felt like we hadn't, even though we had done our manifesto points, that we'd only really got into our stride with it. We wanted to kind of power on, try and make changes and do it and it is, you kind of get voted in, you obviously start later in the year, but then as soon as you come back now, they're about to open re-elections again.
Oh goodness.
So and all that voting bit. So it's that kind of, you don't really feel like you've been in the role very long before re-elections come up. So it's even more so you're just kind of like, I've only really just started the role. I don't finish until, you know.
I'm not done yet.
the end of my academic year to do that. So going for re-election the second time, it gave me a bit more confidence in regards of, I'd spoken to these people before. A lot of the students and bits had come to know me from the different bits that I've done, or going and speaking to them at induction week. So doing that, I felt a lot more comfortable. And luckily, people voted me in. Second time running.
They can see what we can see clearly. You know, you're obviously great at it, and you're very passionate, and that's an important aspect of. There's no point going for something if you're only going to go in it half-heartedly, really, is there?
I very much feel like if you're going to go for these roles, do it because you're actually going to do the job.
Definitely.
I don't want people really to be going for it if they're looking for it just on something on paper to say, oh, look, I was at. If you're going to do it, you need to be doing it for the students.
Exactly.
You're there as a representative. You need to be doing as much as you can, really, to kind of support. And yes, it might not mean you might not be able to do a whole load of events or a whole load of bits, but just talking to students, feeding back their feedback,
Yeah,
essentially.
definitely.
You're doing a lot for them that way because you are giving more of a voice on campus.
And you being a student as well definitely helps, because it's like, okay, it's not quite so intimidating going to another student going, oh, by the way, can this happen, or can this change, or I'm not happy about this or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's less intimidating, isn't it?
Yeah, and what was great is obviously when I went for re-elections, when I went for BIT, is students that may have not spoken to me before, like they gave me a bit more confident of, and I had things to sort out after that, because people then come up to me when I was sort of in the break or in the bit go, oh, can we talk to you about this? Can we talk to you about that? And obviously that was kind of worked out quite well. Being the current one, I could help them with a bit instead of then needing to speak to someone else and sort of doing it from that angle. And one of the things I really wanted to do, which I didn't get to do as much on the previous refreshers, Freshers Week, was to go through inductions and speak to as many classes. So I managed to speak to a couple, but I didn't manage to get into that many. Where this time round there was only one course I didn't manage with the timings and bits to get in and see them, because it clashed unfortunately with my own induction.
Yeah, no, I was gonna
that I
say.
needed to turn up to.
I
I think they all would know where I was if I didn't turn up to it. But that I kind of felt it was so important to go there and do the induction bit and speak to the students, because I want them to know they can come up and speak to me. I don't feel like I'm a scary person.
No, you're not.
So I really wanted them to kind of say, look, you know my face, know my bit. Even if you feel like maybe that it's a problem that's just for you or just for the bit, you can then signpost them to different advice centres and different bits, as long as they kind of, again, it's that communication and it's building up. So Emily, who is my predecessor in the role, hers was very much big effective communication, and that's something I've sort of carried on and tried to keep building on, because it is so important.
Definitely. It's like you said, even if you can't, it's being clear, you know, I might not be able to directly solve the problem, I can signpost you, or, you know, or we can work on how we can provide this feedback on where the right person to go to and stuff. So there's always something you can do about it, even if it's not directly solving the issue there and then kind of things. So,
and I think it's then working with your fellow officers as well, and
Exactly.
obviously presidents as well. So it's kind of, and I felt, especially this year particularly, we're a lot more, as I say, connected together, working together, which has been so great.
Oh, that's great. That's good.
But it's then helped as well that if you've got a problem, you can know, okay, I'm just gonna go on the Teams chat and chat to Lewis, or I'm just gonna go and pop around the office and just saying, look, students has just said this to me, what can we do maybe to help them? Because it may be something that us part-time officers can't do. It needs to be coming from the president or from the bit. So to be able to all chat together, discuss the bit, it's hopefully helping to solve more problems.
Oh, that's great. It's a great sort of approach, isn't it? Like you say, it's a joined up approach as well. So it's not just one person doing everything. It's like, can we try and work together to solve this kind of thing? So that's great to hear.
And I think it's even with speaking about the academic staff as well, because as I very kindly when I sort of started, Emily sort of helped with the introduction, because again I was kind of a little bit nervous of going and speaking to like the dean and things like that. But just that bit, to then be invited to come sort of every few weeks to their academic meetings, and it's been such a great opportunity, because you can see that they really listen and they really take feedback on board.
That's
so
good.
to be able to kind of speak to the course rep, speak to the students beforehand, and then go to them, go, this is what students have been really enjoying, this is maybe what they're not been so enjoying, or problems they've kind of encountered, and again it sorted out a lot of problems in-house between that as well.
Oh, that's good.
Help to sort of smooth the journey and improve the journey even more than what it is. But as I say, been very fortunate with the academic staff and that I've come across and interacted
sort of
with.
open to the conversation as well, and not just sort of shutting it down. That's really good to hear.
Yeah. So we spoke a lot about like the support the uni provides, your role. In terms of the university and your experience, is there anything that's really surprised you since you've come back?
I think what's surprised me, maybe even just comparing it to when I was here previously, I think I've seen a big difference.
Okay.
In the whole sort of student journey and the support, because when I was here originally, there wasn't that much support. It was kind of, and it could be obviously just that course leader, just the course I was doing. It could be completely that.
It's quite a new uni at that point as well.
Exactly. And coming into it, I think particularly with someone with invisible disability, at that point you can, obviously I didn't need the chair, I didn't need the bit. you're getting told a lot that you can't do it. Which, for me, anyone that does know me, they know I've been quite stubborn. So when I'm getting told that I can't do it, particularly because of a condition I've got, it makes me even more like I want to fight and I want to do it.
100%.
Which could have been their plan, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was very much that.
It's like the reverse psychology. You can't do it.
Exactly, yeah, you can't do it.
I'll prove you
And it kind of, it did feel like they kind of did win when obviously I had to give up the whole bit. Because it wasn't just obviously the event, it was when I was even working in the hospital, I had the same sort of common bits as well. As soon as they sort of found out conditions I'd done, because my immune system was quite weak. So if I'd come down with something, it took me a lot longer to fight it off. And it was a lot worse. So having sick time off, having a bit like that, it was very difficult. Someone would see me coming out of physio maybe in a wheelchair because it's flared up my bit. Then the gossip would be spreading. And I had quite a lot of that, and it made it quite difficult from that point of view, from doing it. But then coming obviously uni this time round, straight away from the start, it was, okay, let's get you in meeting with disability. Let's have you sort of, then obviously it was Teams chatting, doing that. So I got to know the person that I'm under. You have relaxed inductions, which wasn't something they had before, which are great opportunities. Especially with students, you may not feel with your disability, may not fit into it, you may not feel, I actually need that. But even if you just turn up the once to it and get a thing, because you do learn a lot of extra info that obviously isn't done in inductions. It's more tailored to obviously people that have got disabilities that need to know. But then it's a great time then with staff to go, okay, I'm starting. Have I got my reasonable adjustments? Have I got my fire evacuation plan? Do I know this? Do I need to do that? And straight away then, and even if you think, okay, I need to talk to the course team about it, they can be there to support you with that if you don't feel confident enough to do that.
That's good to hear.
So I think it's kind of, all that sort of thing wasn't there before. So straight away coming into it, it was kind of like, straight away from the start, you felt a lot more supportive. And yes, obviously starting COVID, we were started mostly online, then a little bit on campus, and it was completely online. Felt very kind of here or there.
It's a scary time generally, but when, like you said, with your immune system as well, it's even more of a risk.
So we, as a little cohort group, we did Cocktail Friday.
Oh, fantastic.
So it was via Teams, so we had set up like a running bit on Teams, and we would all meet up and we would play games like through the internet. So it could be little quizzes.
I remember doing the online quizzes during COVID.
My family's still doing it. We've been doing it all through COVID and we're still doing it. It's ridiculous, but no.
But I think that sort of thing really kind of helped as well, because
brings you all together. As well.
Especially I knew some of my friends were in accommodation in Athena, where you're trapped in because everyone needs to stay in their little rooms and stay in their little bits. It's a very small space for people that can't go out, and it was difficult enough for people being trapped in their own house, but for students that are on campus, I felt even more for, and it was even more important for little bits to be going on for them to kind of give them that human connection and to keep them going, because as I say, student mental health anyway is a topic that needs to be taken seriously. We've obviously had conversations around.
No, but it does. It's very important. It's like you said, not everybody feels confident to talk out when they're not feeling okay, or they might present that they're amazing, but really inside it's like, kind of thing. So and like you said, the uni, since working at the uni, there are more services available than when I was a student the first time round. But but COVID did do a real number, unfortunately, on people's mental health, especially with them feeling nervous about going back into things, regardless of if they've had an invisible disability or another disability as well. It's terrifying. So it's great to hear that you managed it so amazingly and you had your community behind you to kind of say, right, let's make this a horrible situation fun and let's try and make the best of it and things. But and
I think I think that's what kept a lot of us kind of going through is obviously those connections we had made early on. Some of us just made it just by in the long queue waiting for our ID, you know, just sort of, because they were having to be quite separated, so it was kind of out the door around the corner. Because we were having to keep those gaps and spaces.
Oh goodness, I don't miss
everything.
that.
No, I don't miss that.
So we know that you're a big disability advocate. What would you say to students with disability, whether that be visible or non-visible, that may be anxious about joining uni, or maybe students are at uni and are like, I'm not sure if I'm going to stay? What would you sort of suggest to them?
For prospective students, I would say, again, so you can find some of us on Unibuddy, I would say come to the open days, talk to students, and that has been great. The open days I've attended is you have others that have got wheelchairs and everything come up to me and go, okay, from a wheelchair perspective, what have you found good, what have you found not good?
Okay.
And it kind of, because you have other worries, I think what a lot of people forget is you have a lot of other worries outside that someone else who is perfectly fit and healthy may not have.
Mm-hmm.
And it is things like just navigating around campus. If I hadn't got my electric power chair, I wouldn't have been able to come back, particularly when COVID was going on, because you didn't have the helpers and bits you had now to help you get through doors, to help you get through bits. So I feel like even more so with that, it would have been more difficult. But I think the most thing to do is come to open days, talk to current students, and find out, obviously, of those that have got disabilities themselves, and just get a perspective of, okay, what are they worried about?
Definitely.
And you can then talk through with it, because it may sound some worries silly to other people, but it's a big part of people, a big part of their life, and how it's going to be for them to navigate on their own. And it's independence, it's coming to the university, and a lot of time for these people, it may have been, particularly if they've got a lot of physical disabilities, they may have not come outside of their family home, they may not have done anything outside, and for them to then be coming and independently, and again joining different groups, talking to different people, it's something, I know for me, it gave me a social life. I had no social life, nothing before I joined. I didn't have anything, and now I've got some really good friends that we sort of plan different bits with, in different groups, and they're from ones I met from the cohort, but then I have another really good great group of friends like Jamie and that I met through doing different society work, and that's kind of given me all these new experiences that I hadn't before. You know, I hadn't gone to a nightclub, I hadn't gone even just for a cinema trip out or a restaurant out with people that other than my family. That hadn't been something I've been able to experience, because obviously I was 15 when I come down with fibromyalgia. That obviously took me out of high school.
Wow, 15, that's that age where you're,
GCSE's coming up.
And I had the bit, unfortunately, where the school wouldn't let me stay because they wanted me to attend classes, and then I had my paediatric consultant saying she's not well enough to be attending anything outside of the school, anything outside the hospital. So they're like, well, you're going to have to leave.
Oh, so supportive.
There wasn't any support, unfortunately.
It's changed a lot now, luckily.
Luckily,
yes.
I would say a long time ago now.
Well, but
very long time ago.
Still, it shouldn't have been happening then, and it certainly shouldn't still be happening now.
It shouldn't. Yeah. But for them, at least through the hospital, they had that outreach bit. They had the teachers in there that allowed me to get GCSEs. Because even then, the time I got well enough to attend college, if I had, which I was obviously quite a bit older anyway than the fellow people in my group, it would have been, I think, even more difficult if I hadn't even done GCSEs, hadn't even got that, because again, it would have been go back and do that. And I felt probably even more behind, even more kind of outsider within the group. Because again, especially coming from high school into college, you've got a lot of people that will know each other, that will follow each other.
You do.
Particularly if obviously they're close to the high school and got a lot of feeders into it. So trying to do all that was, and then obviously then go follow on to uni.
But look at you now. So,
exactly.
Think about your PhD already, so you know.
And it's like, if I'd even starting it, I would have never thought I would have the brain capacity with my cognitive dysfunction as part of my condition. I would have thought I would even have a shot of even, I would have thought nah, it's no way I even get close to the grades or anything I would need
Yeah.
to be able to progress to that. I'd always wanted to do it, but I never felt that I was smart enough or anything enough to even have a shot of doing it. And this was even when I did the ODP.
Wow.
Because a lot of my grades and stuff, I was great with the practical.
Yeah.
But actually when it was on campus and doing the work, a lot of time I was scraping by or having to redo and things like that. So I knew coming into it, I was like, I'm not expecting myself to do well. And he had very much imposter syndrome, which I still go through now.
Yeah.
But even my lecturers say, some of them say, we still get it. And then, you know, where they are now. So I think obviously it happens to a lot of us. But I feel with people it should be that don't listen to any other naysayers. Don't let it be that you're defined by your condition, particularly if you've got invisible disability. You have got the capacity to do it. It just may need more different software or different bits. And again, that's where accessing the different services, getting that
DSA,
disability DSA.
come in place. And
Exactly,
things,
exactly.
There's
because
ways
then it
around
puts
it.
you, and don't feel it's kind of, and with others that may feel, oh, well, you get this extra and we don't. It's bringing you really onto a level playing field to them. Because I know with me, it just takes a lot longer to process, even reading a question, even reading a chapter. It's over and over again just to have a hope. But then my brain fog can kick in at any point, and I could be answering a question in class and suddenly my brain goes. I'm like, I have no idea what I was talking about. No idea what I was talking about. And it just completely goes. And I never know when it's gonna happen.
You haven't got any control over it, so it's good knowing you've got things behind you. Well, actually, if this does happen, I've got this in place and things, so that's great.
And it could be from things of different prompt cards to different things like that. And I think it's just talking about it and discussing it, and even if it's something maybe you're not happy discussing with family or anything outside that, again, you've got independent bit. If you're not comfortable with disability on the university side, you've got the student union side for advice, which are completely independent. There's all these other avenues.
That's great. That's such a good, it's a positive way of looking at it as well. It's like, okay, with this person can't help me, I can try this person, and there's not giving up, I think, is the main message on it, really.
Yes,
isn't
definitely. I think it's not good. It's trying to power through, and it's trying to don't struggle and feel like you're treading water and you just can't see an end point and you can't get there. But I think it's just kind of ensuring that you're giving yourself the best start, the best support possible by accessing everything you can.
Things,
I think it's great for the university is diverse and it's getting more diverse. It's a great opportunity for students that haven't got a disability or are neurotypical to learn about different disabilities, and that will help them as much as it will help people with disabilities as well, and lecturers and staff members as well.
I think that's the bit, and I've said it before to certain people, I would be more than happy to go and present and have like a disability day for lecturers and students to come along to.
That would be fantastic.
And there'll be a few of us that talk about our conditions and how it affects us.
Yes, definitely.
I've said to the house side before, that if someone coming into it that has especially some of the conditions I've got and pain conditions, they have a lot of other worries coming into the hospital than maybe someone else. They'd be more worried about, I know I had this one patient one time, and they had fibromyalgia the same as I've got fibromyalgia, to name but a few others I've got a lot. Keep collecting them. But the one thing they were worried about was the fact that on the operation bed, which anyone's been on it, isn't exactly the best padding, the best support, they're very narrow, even with extra supports and extensions you can put on it. But their main thing was being in that position for that long a time. They were going to wake up in such bad joint pain because of the condition, because they've been kept in that position and they maybe haven't been padded enough. Like, especially for those sort of conditions, you need to be padding every joint, every bit, doing gel pads, pillows, you name it. And just by them saying to them, I said, look, I've got that as well. I will look after you. You could straight away with their stress, anxiety, it just brought it down. And I think particularly those that are going into health and other sort of mental health sectors, there needs to be a bigger range of knowledge. And I think instead of them going in and the lecture staff saying, this is what this condition is, having and opening it up to students and saying, okay, would anyone that's got these conditions feel comfortable enough coming and spending time with our students
Definitely.
and saying, right, okay, this is what it's like living with this condition.
Gives them someone to relate to, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Say, well, oh, I've got that. Or even someone might not have something diagnosed yet and be like, oh,
Yeah.
I've had similar like symptoms to that. And it's that knowledge, like you said, it's sharing the knowledge, it's sharing the experience is a really important part of it.
Because one of my pet peeves is, particularly with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, is fibro, for example, you've got over 200 different symptoms that someone can get.
Wow.
It's quite, both ME and fibro are in quite a large spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at the severe end for both of them, but someone else could be obviously at the opposite end.
Mm-hmm.
It, along with other conditions that are on a spectrum, it's very different people. So you could have 3 people in a room with a condition. It's all affecting them probably very differently,
Right.
depending on what conditions. And then it's offset of what other comorbidities have they got from that condition. So there's a lot of other conditions that link into fibro, ME, etc. That people could then get or have as well, which could add extra different symptoms that someone else isn't experiencing. So I kind of feel the importance of education but it correctly done.
Definitely.
Like there's so much, like when you go on the NHS pages and different things like that, and the way they describe the condition sometimes isn't right.
You're like, that's not what it's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that then obviously tends to get taught
Yeah.
because that is obviously the proviso of the NHS.
People
Like this
Google
way,
things as well.
or
You're like,
Google,
what?
or things like that. Exactly. But a lot of the time it's kind of misinformation that's not correct. So I feel the best way for like the health courses here, and I think for other courses and students in general, is to have these kind of sessions. It's not something that's really been done much in universities. So again, if the University of Suffolk wants more things to sort of set them apart and to be more held as a inclusive campus, it's offering, because there will be some students like us that will feel comfortable enough going in front of people and going, right, okay, I'm going to talk you through my condition. This is how it affects me. This is how it maybe affects how I learn. So from a lecturing point of view, because I know with my lecturers in my first year, because I had really struggled one time because I got a few colds, hadn't become well, and to the point that I think one of the class I just burst out tears because I was like, I think we had like a test bit. It wasn't obviously graded. It was let's do a quiz, let's do a thing. And that was enough for me.
No.
I was just like, I got to the end of tiredness and I just could not cope with it. And afterwards, sitting down with some of the lecturers and just going, okay, how can we help you? How can we understand? I was like, well, this is what it's like for me. This is the difficulties I have. These are the bits I may have. These are the signs as well you can look out for.
Yeah.
I think that's another important one, especially with visible disabilities.
Yeah,
the more
definitely.
awareness it is from your cohort point of view and your lecturing point of view, the more they can support you. Because if their knowledge is there, is going, right, okay, that person's quite quiet, they're not normally not, or like for me, the more in pain I get, the more brighter my face gets, my cheeks, so it looks like I've got a really bad fever. So in COVID, it wasn't really helpful because it looked like I had the fever, but I hadn't. It was all the damaged brain nerves and everything I've got in the thing. That was sort of as a byproduct of that. But that's kind of quite a clear way, and that's what my family use a lot, to know that when it's getting that extreme of pain, that's a kind of an indicator.
Okay.
But someone else could take it as, oh, she's embarrassed.
Yeah.
Or things
just
like
a bit
that.
warm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They've got a fever, they're just a bit embarrassed. So I feel the more it's kind of spread to the classes, spread to the lecture team, like with the health ones, it can make someone a bit more of an all-rounder in regards of looking at someone holistically, especially which is so important if you're doing a health course or any other sort of mental health side, is looking at everything. A lot of the time we tend to, and you probably read from looking at our different posts for the disability awareness that Katie very lovely did, you don't look sick.
I found that really interesting. Definitely needs to run as a regular thing, I think, because I found it really like, wow, no, you know, you don't always frame your thinking that way, so that's great.
And what's kind of sad in a way is the different disability communities I'm a part of, or even just speaking to obviously the students here, is we get told a lot of the time the same things. We kind of come from other countries, other backgrounds, but it's amazingly how the same sort of comments come up, and it could be done by people that you just come across, or family members, friends, medical professionals, like you don't look sick. If you did a poll of how many people have been said that, it'll rate very highly, which kind of tells in a way that even if people have got different backgrounds, unfortunately it's these same sort of terms that are being used that shouldn't be used. I get people for like chronic fatigue syndrome, with obviously one of the ones I've got, which is also known as ME. I'm tired as well. I get a lot. So, I'm tired too. And I'm like, unless you're in a state of, and you know, some people can pass off because you're like, they don't realise, you know, it's innocent and right, and it's to a point you can sort of think, you know, they don't mean anything by it. But some of the bits I've got, it's kind of, you sort of feel like saying to them, well, if you're in a state of, basically, I think the best way one of my GP described it was being in a state of, I can't think of the word now, brain's gone. Being awake basically for 3 days straight.
Oh, goodness me.
Being in that state of, that level of tiredness. Then you got an inkling of what someone feels like every day.
Yeah.
Like, it is a battle every day. You're more battling yourself a lot of the time than everything else. I know for me, it's a battle to get up in the morning. It's a battle to get up and ready. Things like drying my hair, putting socks on. Things that people maybe not think twice of.
Take for granted.
Takes so much energy and difficulty sometimes that it doesn't sort of feel that bit. But I think it's that raising awareness and getting people to know more accurately
it's a really
what it's
important
like living with
thing.
it.
Getting people to live in your shoes just for one day and things like
Yeah.
that. That was, you know, I think that sounds really, you know, I think, we should be snapping your hand off for that, really, to kind of, that awareness, like you said, especially with invisible, like, disabilities, you don't always think, like you said, though, you don't look sick, or, you know, and the looks you get for certain things you're doing, and you're a bit like, what do you expect me to look like? You know, it's kind of...
Or it's like the piece I did, you know, people don't expect me to be able to get out of the chair. And I still get the look sometimes. And I don't sort of get around here, but it tends to be more out in the general public. It tends to be more the bit. But they expect you to be paralysed if you're in a chair. And that's not correct. Or they think you're faking it because you're in a chair, then, but you can then transfer over to a seat and things. And it's taken me actually quite a few years. And again, it's been the support of friends here that has made me kind of less anxious doing it.
Yeah.
Because I can move a bit. Like, some days, yes, I can't get out of bed at all. It depends what part of the body's hurt and what part of the body's working that day. I never know what I'm going to wake up like. And that's one of the other scary bits. You just don't know what you're going to be day to day. You'll try and make plans, try and make bits, but you don't actually know if you're going to make them.
Yeah.
And it's,
and good friends know that as well, don't they? Understand that not every day is going to look the same.
Yeah.
And you can't, there's nothing you can do about it. You can make adjustments according to, like you said, how you feel. But I think a good friend or community would understand, you know, it's going to be different.
And that's the bit, it's not staring at someone that transfers out of a chair. It's not treating them as they were a child or condescendingly. Or, you know, one of the other things I don't like is photographers and that, they're crouched down to take your photograph, or, you know, someone will crouch down next to you to speak to you.
Right.
Just speak how you'd speak to everyone else.
No.
Don't treat us any differently. We're not any differently.
Yeah.
You know, don't do that. But unfortunately, again, it's some of the equality, diversity training over the years that have been given around to different businesses, and they've all been told, this is how you're meant to talk to someone that's in a chair. You're meant to crouch down to their level. You're meant to kind of, I'm like, don't.
It's like following a tick list rather than actually just treating the person as an individual and speaking to them about what they prefer. How you know, it's like with anything, like actually speaking to a person.
Yeah.
But
You know, I offer people as well, if you're out and about and you see someone struggling or near a bit, just say to someone, is there anything I can help you with? They can straight away go, no, fine, then you move on.
Yeah.
But sometimes I know when the worst thing is trying to do a shop, because so much, I want a pair of grabbers, like Santa didn't bring it to me this year. I really wanted an extendable pair of grabbers.
Pickers, like, they'd be fabulous.
I want kind of like a free palm one like that, because it is, you go to shops and I spend a lot of my time going to people and going, can you get something down for me? Can you get something down for me, please? Because they're on different levels. But at the same time, I want to be able to go out and do a shop. It's, you know, we shouldn't have to try and rely on other people to see that bit.
Santa should have bought you one of those.
I know, why not? But yeah, I did ask for a new brain, but I've been asking for the last 15 years. It's not worked that work either. But I think that's the bit I can say to people is, just go out and ask. If you see people looking lost, or maybe just next to something, or even in a shop, someone just come and go, anything I can help you with? No, then you just leave them and walk off. That's fine. Yeah. But I feel it's always that bit of just asking.
Yeah, it's hard, I suppose, isn't it? It's like you're always afraid of what the answer will be sometimes, but at the end of the day, you won't know until you kind of just go in there and say, look, is there anything I can do to help? It might be that person just wants a drink of water, or they're having a bit of 5 minutes to themselves, like, but thank you for actually noticing might need some support or something.
You might
sometimes
see
that can,
Exactly, you might see someone in the corner and just crouch down somewhere, and you just sort of like, are you okay? Did you want me to do, get anyone? No? Okay. Then you sort of leave into it. They might just, as I say, just need that quiet 5 minutes to themselves. It could be like me trying to get through the doors because they are heavy.
Yes.
So it could be me, like, just waiting for someone just to take, pity on me and open the door for me. Yeah, when I'm having one of those really weak days, like my arms just not pulling it, I'm just like, 5 attempts to get through the way.
Like you have a little sign, can you ask me, please?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
But I'm never going to say to someone, if they go near the door and go, can I open it for you? Yeah, please. If people can see chairs are in the way, or if they're at a table and you see someone with a wheelchair, with a pram, with a stick, with a walker, trying to get past you or going near you, you kind of go, oh, did you want me to shuffle in? There's no harm in people saying that. And I feel like, across everywhere, really, it needs to be more. They've gone backwards
a little bit with, haven't they? Go, right, no, I'm not going to open that door. It's for goodness sake, just ask, kind of thing.
I think that's the bit. I feel like kind of, and that's part of why doing the Random Acts kind of campaign and things like that. It's trying to kind of pull that bit back out of people, and just to kind of get people to sort of think around them of, okay, this stuff on the floor, or this heavy door, or this and that. Little bits that can mean so much to people, just that little bit of help.
Of course.
So, I mean, we've spoken a lot about different things you've done, the successes you've had with the officer role. If I was to narrow down one thing, is there anything you're most proud of your time at university?
I think as an officer, it's probably got to be so far the Random Acts of Kindness campaign, which had really good student engagement, which has been brilliant. But I feel even more so the support of the local national businesses. I've just been overwhelmed in a way with the support they've done. To be honest, I was a bit cynical, but I didn't kind of expect as many.
Yeah, especially with current living crisis and things at the moment, isn't it? You don't know how much people are able to help or want to help as well. But
so that's good. End up with 39 local national businesses. Wow. I've still got a few others that have come forward that I'm in talks with. So to have that many, and some of them haven't just helped with the first event, they're helping with a series of them. Like Asda and Tesco's are prime examples, and Morrison's. Both of them have helped with sort of 2 to 3 already, and there's plans for them to help with further ones as we go through the year.
Great. That's good to know.
Yeah, and they're community champions as well.
Yeah,
like Tesco's and Asda, giving their time and actually coming in and helping with the events. Even more so, because there's one thing obviously giving items over or giving support a bit over, but for their staff to actually come out and, like with the cakes, to come and actually help with it, again,
it's building those community links as well, isn't it? Which is really important.
Yeah.
Especially, like you said, we want to be more present as a university, and we're here, and we want, the community to recognise it and be a part of it. So what you're doing, bringing them in, is, it's a great achievement.
And I think it's sort of, again, raising that awareness of student mental health. And when I've talked to the different ones, and saying, okay, well, they kind of go back to me, okay, why are you doing this? Because again, it was very out of comfort zone to be calling these people up, to going to shops, to writing to head offices.
Can you give me stuff, please?
Yeah. Or can you please support this campaign and do this, please? It's been very kind of thing, and especially the local ones have seen it as great. And because, as I say to them, you've got all these new students here. A lot of them may not have come to the area or really ventured into Ipswich. And you've got some of these great little stores and little places. You've got the juice bar. You've got St Nicholas with the sandwich shop. That if people aren't walking that way, they don't know they're there.
Exactly.
Yes, obviously juice bar being next to University, prime example. But things like St Nicholas sandwich shop, they do great sandwiches and different bits, but people don't know they're there. So it's kind of as well for them, it's trying to support the local community links.
Definitely. And
trying to kind of help the town a bit as a whole.
Yeah, exactly that. It's like you say, making the town look more attractive to, prospective students or prospective people who want to work here as well. Need to show them what the local amenities are. And so it is the thing, like that one campaign can spiral out to all of these other avenues is great. Yeah. It's really positive. But
Yeah, and I've been really enjoyed this chat.
Yeah, it's been great.
So we've got a final question now, which is our answer one, ask one question. So what we'll do is you'll answer a question from our previous guest,
Okay.
and then you'll pose on to the next guest.
Okay.
So,
Passing it on.
so
Oh no, who was the previous person?
yeah. So the previous guest was Amy from Careers.
Yeah.
And our question was, if you didn't do psychology, what course would you have studied? Was there anything else you had when you were looking through that prospectus? Or was it always going to be psychology?
I think I would have done childhood. I think that was the reason, obviously, I started psychology and childhood to start with, because I was on that fence between the two of them
Okay.
and what to do. I think I probably would have gone childhood.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Any particular reason?
I think it's from obviously the past working with kids and different things like that. It's an area I had interest in and support in, and I really enjoyed the little modules I did before. Obviously, being a part-time, I had to kind of come away from it because the degree went. But doing the optionals that I did at the time, I really enjoyed them, and again, it's such a great course team.
Yeah.
I find things like critical writing and stuff I really enjoy, but I haven't got the bit. I sometimes feel like I got the imagination on some bits, but I don't feel like I could probably do it. But again, it's like another fascinating course to me as a few. When I'm sort of looking through the bit going, oh, that's really interesting. I'm really interested in that. But I'm like,
read the blurb. I want to do that.
Yeah, I can't do that. But yeah, so I got really interested in that.
Okay, great. Yeah, so thanks again for joining us, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. Wish
Enjoyed
we'd had
that.
like a cup of tea and a cup of coffee on the side.
So until next time, it's goodbye from Laura.
It's goodbye from Sam.
Thank you for listening to the Student Experience podcast. If you would like to be a future guest, email studentexperiencesteam@uos.ac.uk or follow the links to our podcast application form through our Brightspace page. You can also reach out to us through our Instagram page, UOS_student experience.